Welcome to a Healthy Push podcast. I'm Shannon Jackson, former anxiety sufferer turned adventure mom and anxiety recovery coach. I struggled with anxiety, panic disorder, and agoraphobia for 15 years. And now I help people to push past the stuff that I used to struggle with. Each week, I'll be sharing real and honest conversations along with actionable and practical steps that you can take to help you push past your anxious thoughts, the symptoms, panic, and fears. Welcome. You're right where you're meant to be. Okay, today's episode is an exciting one. I feel like I say that every episode, but I love these episodes where I get to chat with students and clients of mine. And today I have a Panic to Peace student of mine, Amy, here with me. And I'm super excited to talk to you, Amy. Welcome to the podcast.
Oh, thank you so much, Shannon. Yeah, I'm so excited to be here. Like the thought of like being here after listening to the podcast, it's just mad to think that I'm actually on an episode. It's like really weird. So yeah, I'm really happy to be here. Thank you for having me.
It must be so weird. I can imagine, and I hear this all the time. It's like a full circle moment, which is
Yeah.
so cool. So Amy actually took Panic to Peace January 2023. And so I'm excited for her to share, her progress and what's been happening since then. But before we get into any of that, I really want to have a conversation so you can share your story and just share what it's been like for you, your journey in general. So let's just start, who the heck is Amy? Tell us a little bit about you.
Okay, so I'm Amy. I'm 29, and I live in Worcestershire in the UK. So I've had anxiety for as long really back as I can remember. I remember even being a really, really small child and being quite nervous and worried. And so, yeah, but the first panic attack that I had, I was 11, I was in middle school, and I was in an assembly, and I remember at the time just feeling like I was either going to be sick or pass out. I just remember having this real intense, obviously this like adrenaline rush, but at the time I was just convinced that I was physically ill, and just thought, oh my God, I need to get out of here, something bad's going to happen. So unfortunately that was like the trigger really, which then unfortunately led to panic disorder and agoraphobia. So school really wasn't fun for me. I ended up seeing a school counsellor, and bear in mind, like, this is when I was 11, so it was quite a long time ago. So it was like talking about mental health and anxiety. It wasn't as out there as it is now. I didn't even know what anxiety was at the time, so it was obviously so scary but so confusing at the same time. And yeah, I remember seeing this counsellor, and she was just like, "Oh, I think you're claustrophobic," and that was kind of like the label that was put on it. Because from what happened in the assembly, I'd always want to be by a door or at the back of the classroom. So if I started panicking or something happened, I'd be less visible to other people. And yeah, so school was like a really scary but confusing time. And it wasn't really until I left school and started work, and saw a therapist, that it was really explained to me that this is anxiety, and I was having panic attacks. So yeah, I suppose looking back, I've kind of like white knuckled my way through a lot of my life, which is, it's sad. Like there's been some really good times where my anxiety hasn't been as loud, but then yeah, there has been difficult times as well. And yeah, it kind of got to Christmas last year, and there was like, I think, quite a few contributing factors. There was like a bereavement in the family, and I was just being really unkind to myself. And I just think just so many years of this anxiety being there was so much frustration and a lot of shame as well, which yeah, I was just beating myself up about it. So it kind of got to Christmas last year and it kind of just all got a bit much. And I thought, no, like I need to be doing something about this. I need help. It's just getting to the point where I'm struggling to function day to day and just in a constant anxious state, which was just really, yeah, not a nice place to be in. So I found your amazing Instagram account and your podcast, Shannon, which was just such a comfort in when I was in such a quite a dark place at the time. I was just, even though I'd had anxiety for so many years, it was still so confusing because it was almost like a different, I don't know how to explain it. The fact it was just so constant at the time. Before it was just certain scenarios that would bring it on, but it was just so, yeah, just there constantly throughout the day, and I just couldn't seem to distract myself from it. So I just thought I've got to do something about this. I can't just carry on trying to just white knuckle my way through life and manage it. And the fact that you were saying in your in your podcast and on your in your Instagram videos that you can recover from this. This is the first time that I even thought that was like a possibility. I just, all I've been told throughout my life is you got to fight it, you got to fight it, and you've got to manage it. And so that's all that I've been doing. And obviously that's not the best way to go about it. So joining Panic to Peace, I was a bit hesitant at first. I was like, oh, is this going to be, what if it doesn't work? I'm going to feel worse if it doesn't. But I thought, no, do you know what? I'm just going to go for it. I haven't really got anything to lose. Hopefully it will work. And there was a lot, obviously, listening to your other students, your past students on the podcast. It was so helpful for them as well. So I thought, I'm just going to go for it. And the things that you've taught me through this course has just made such a difference. So yeah, thank you so much.
Yeah, I'm so glad that you joined. So, your story, right, is so similar to so many
Mm-hmm.
people's stories who struggle with anxiety, panic, agoraphobia. Like a very early memory, a really early event in your life happened and sort of, triggered you on this pathway of having a really tough time with anxiety as the emotion. And I think what you said, as you were talking, I could literally picture myself being in like a really large assembly. And for me as a kid, that was really tough for me in and of itself. But having a panic attack, right, and not really knowing at that point in time what it is,
Mm-hmm.
and not knowing, of course, what to do, just feeling like something's really seriously wrong, because like you said, we haven't really been, or we I should say we hadn't really been spoken to a lot about anxiety,
Yeah.
and that this is a pretty natural emotion and you can feel it sometimes, and sometimes you might get an adrenaline rush and what it is. So because we didn't get really any of that education, any of that knowledge, it's just like it hits you and you're like, oh my goodness,
Yeah.
like that, like this is awful. And it's just so funny how so many of us share that same commonality. And really, a lot of it goes back to we just weren't given the knowledge, we just weren't taught. And it's great now, right, that more people are talking and that we're educating and that kids are, growing up with a lot more resources now. But because you don't know what it is and you're experiencing a very natural response, it's just like can really put you on this cycle. So
Yeah.
I'm curious, what did it actually look like when you said, when this past, Christmas 22 hit and you were like
Mhm.
really struggling to function day to day? Like,
Mhm.
what did the anxiety and panic look like for you?
It was just constant, just the negative thoughts and just kind of second guessing myself as well, because it was almost like half of me knew this was anxiety. I thought this is similar to what I've had before, but it just felt more intense. So I just thought, oh, but there's probably something more to it. And I was just kind of, just completely not trusting my mind and my body. And I just thought, like, at one point I thought, oh my god, like I feel like I am gonna like lose my mind. I thought I'm gonna go crazy, because my thoughts were just racing constantly. And then the more I was trying to distract myself, it was just worse. The more I tried to get my mind off it, I just couldn't. And just like the breathlessness, that feeling, like feeling that someone's like almost like sat on your chest and you can't get a deep enough breath. Just that horrible, like sick sort of uncomfortable tummy, like butterfly, like really intense feeling. And just really shaky as well. And I just didn't want to be left on my own as well, because I just thought I felt like I was losing control of my body. So I felt like I had to constantly be on high alert and be taking control, because I just thought, oh my god, like I'm just losing it. This is just getting worse and worse. And I was just telling myself in my head that it was just going somewhere that I'm not going to come back from. That was almost like the worst fear, sort of. It was almost like the ultimate is going to happen. And I did at one point, I did think, oh my god, this is like going to kill me. And it's just horrible to think that the anxiety can do that. And it's frustrating knowing that it's almost yourself doing it, but it's because you've got such strong sensations going on. Like, your mind's obviously going to go to these places trying to give yourself an explanation for this intense feeling. So it was just kind of just spiraling and spiraling and spiraling. I just thought, God, I've got to do something about this. And just to listen to you on your videos on Instagram, just knowing that you've been through the same, like some of the things you were saying, I just thought, oh my god, that's exactly what I think, or exactly how I felt. And oh god, I'm not going mad, and this isn't as bad as I thought it was. Like, I'm not losing
Right.
my mind completely. So that was definitely the first step. I thought, oh, okay, I can kind of try and calm down a little bit, just to have
Right.
that relief of knowing, oh, okay, this isn't as bad as I think. Like, other people have been through this, and there is hope here. I can get myself out of this.
Yeah.
It was very scary, but just knowing that this is a normal reaction, I suppose, to what was happening,
Yeah.
was
I
really
think
comforting.
the very normal reaction, right, is that your nervous system kind of got to a point where it was like enough is enough. Like,
Yeah.
you had been trying to be functional, you've been trying to just white knuckle your way through
Hmm.
everything, and like, enough is enough, this isn't working, and your body was really pushing back a lot. And for you, unfortunately, like a lot of us, it becomes very mental mixed
Hmm.
in with a lot of the physical. But when you tend to be somebody who just in general thinks a little bit more, you really can go down those rabbit holes of like, maybe this isn't just anxiety. Like,
Hmm.
maybe I am actually losing my mind, and maybe there is actually something really wrong with me, and maybe I'm not going to ever get over this.
Yeah.
And that can be a really scary place to be in. And I think, the stuff that you listed out, it's all of the like biggest, most common things that people struggle with, but are things that people think that nobody else struggles with.
Yeah,
Like, I'm
definitely.
really afraid that I'm going to lose my mind, that I'm
Hmm.
going to have to, be put into a hospital, that
Yeah.
this is going to lead to something that I can't come back from. Like, I'm just like too far gone. Or, some of the other things too that you mentioned, right? Like, not wanting to be left on your own, because you
Hmm.
really feel like, I can't trust what's going on within my body, and
Yeah,
whether or not
absolutely.
I'm going to be able to take care of myself. Like,
Hmm.
that is so scary. So like,
Yeah.
how did all of that, because I know that you have been pretty functional throughout,
Hmm.
your life with anxiety. Like, did it stop you from doing things? Like, were you still working? Like, what did all of that look like?
Yeah. So when this was happening, it was over the Christmas period. So I think in a way, like it was such a shame because Christmas is just my absolute favourite time of year. I absolutely love Christmas, and that Christmas it was just awful. And I think the fact that it was obviously bank holidays and I couldn't contact my GP because so I do take antidepressants for my anxiety. So I was like desperate to speak to the GP to see if they could like increase my medication or if there was anything else they could give me just to calm me down a little bit. But the fact that I couldn't access the GP as well made it even worse. So yeah, I did go back to work for I think 2 or 3 weeks after Christmas, and it was hard. There was days where I'd be in tears because I'd just be having these thoughts and getting myself into such a state and having to go home. And in the end, I spoke to my manager and we decided that I needed to take a break from work because it was that intense that I just couldn't concentrate on what I was doing. So I ended up having a month off work, which to begin with, I didn't want to do that because I was thinking, oh my God, like if I go off work, I'm never ever going to go back to work and it's going to make it worse and I'm just going to be like confined to my bed forever. Or again, all these just absolute catastrophic worst case scenario thoughts were happening. But I feel that it was a good thing. I had time to just focus purely just on myself and getting better. And obviously I was attending the Panic to Peace sessions. I started doing a bit of meditation as well, which was really nice. And then just slowly just going for walks just locally, because at one point I thought, oh my God, I'm going to struggle to leave the house. I remember at one point even just walking around the block where I live was hard. But as each week was going on, I was pushing myself a little bit more, and I could just see the changes happening. So that made a massive difference. So when I eventually went back to work after a month, it was I was quite nervous going back, but it wasn't as bad as I expected. And that's one of the biggest things that I've learned as well, is the anticipatory anxiety is just so much worse than the actual event that you're worrying about. Like 99.9% of the time it's never as bad as you think it's going to be. And I'm going to work on because I can get myself into such a state weeks, even months before a certain thing that I'm worrying about, and I just like look back and think, God, like I've wasted so much time just going through that anxious event just time after time after time again. And in the end it's never as bad as I expect, but I just let that just take over. So that's been really eye-opening as well, just to learn, like every exposure that I do, like beforehand I'm thinking, oh God, this is going to be terrible, but it's never as bad as I expect it to be. So that's good as well.
Yeah. Oh, that anticipatory anxiety is so tricky because it does make you feel like, too, the more I think about it and I sort of rehearse and play out what this might look like, and I, try to figure out how I can make myself not feel so anxious or feel better, like, but you're just like causing yourself to live it over and over and over again. And obviously that's going to cause you to feel a whole lot of feelings and, really real sensations and symptoms. So I'm curious, you talked about something before of like, I would have a lot of thoughts and like the mental stuff would really be going on, and I would try to distract myself. Like, what did that look like? Because I know so many people try to do this too, myself included. I tried to do this back when I was struggling.
Because it was over Christmas, I had family round. So again, I was almost like the family who I live with, that I'm very open with and talk to about it. But like the wider family would come around. And it was almost like that extra pressure. I don't want to ruin everyone's Christmas if I'm sat there in a state. So I was just trying to just talk to people and try and concentrate on a conversation, but these thoughts were just so loud in my head. I was just desperately just trying to do anything. We were doing like party games, things like that, watching TV. But yeah, at that time it was just constant. Whatever I tried to do, it was just there constantly. And yeah, I was obviously just trying to resist it and resist it that much and fighting against it. It was just getting louder and louder.
Yeah.
And yeah, I've obviously learned now that that's not the way to go about it.
It's so funny because it's like and so many others, when we first jump into like week 1 of the program, it's just like everything is so loud and I have so much like going on and I need to know like, what do I do? How do I figure this out? And
Mhm.
it's like, oh my goodness, I really, really need you and want you to just slow down. We're going to just slow down. And I know that you want to like really go at this and figure
Mhm.
out how to make everything, how to make yourself feel more calm and more at peace. But you trying so hard and trying to force it and like trying to do all of these things to make yourself not feel it is this huge level of resistance. And
Mhm.
we all know, right? Anytime you resist something, it tends to just persist.
Yeah.
And it's really taking a look at how you're responding to your thoughts and feelings and really allowing yourself to slow down and to drop some of that resistance. And it's obviously not easy because it's
Mhm.
been something likely that you've been doing for so long
Yeah.
because you don't want to feel it. It sucks. Like
Mhm.
feeling anxiety and feeling a panic attack is really uncomfortable. So it makes sense that you have this natural resistance,
Mhm.
but it's really breaking down those layers of we don't need to put up all these barriers. You can actually allow yourself to start, just having some of the thoughts and having some of the feelings and not trying to do so much about it.
Definitely.
But I know for you, something, when you went back to work, I know that was really tough initially for you and
Mhm.
trying to sit at work. And I think you're a secretary and
Yeah.
trying to be functional at work while you have all this overwhelm. It's like,
Yeah.
how did you do that?
Yeah, I don't know, to be honest.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I just sort of had to just, yeah, obviously it's all about mindset, isn't it? And some days are easier than others. But yeah, like everyone at work, like I think most people who I work with are aware of my struggles with anxiety. So at least I haven't got that kind of embarrassment factor and thinking, oh God, people are going to wonder what's wrong with me if I get a bit anxious or upset or anything. But yeah, and to be honest, I had so much to catch up on. That was a blessing in disguise, really. At first, I was like, oh my God, I don't know where to start. There's just so much to do. But that was a good, yeah, my mind was just completely focused on what I've got to do. And yeah, and I think I just kept kind of saying to myself, oh, I'm just so proud of myself for being
Mm,
back here as well, which again is something that I used to just be so just horrible to myself, really. The way I used to speak to myself in my head, I'd just be putting myself down constantly and you're not good enough and God, you need to get a grip and you should be doing this better or you should be like here in life here. And yeah, so I think, yeah, recognizing that I need to be kinder to myself as well and be like my own, I think we've said before, like be like your own cheerleader. Um, I think that makes a big difference as well, rather than, being your own worst enemy and beating yourself up when you're struggling. It's just going to make you feel worse. And so if you just, egg yourself on and say, come on, we can do this. And yeah, like looking back now, like I am proud of myself because I did think, God, this is going to be really hard and I don't want to do this. And oh God, what if it happens again and have to go off work, and all the negative thoughts again. But yeah, so luckily, yeah, it was a phased return as well, which was good. So I had reduced hours to begin with, so that was good. So I didn't have to go straight back in at the deep end and do like a full week. So it was gradual, which made a big difference as well. But yeah, I'm back full time now, and yeah, I'm feeling much more confident at being able to get through the work day. So that's really good.
Yeah. I mean, there's so many things that you said. Like, I'm so glad that you were vulnerable, that you let the people at work know that like they
Mhm.
knew and they could support you. And I know how scary it is, right, to take a step away, because you do think, if I take a step away, is this going to mean that I'm then going to be stuck in my house and I'm not going to go back to work? And like that
Mhm.
is scary. But
Yeah.
I think oftentimes we do need to put our foot on the brake and give ourselves some space and allow
Mhm.
ourselves to get some support and slow down and like actually allow ourselves to approach things in a bit of a healthier way. So I think it was so good for you. And obviously that phased return was really helpful for you.
Mhm.
And I think one of the biggest things that I saw for you was the shift in like, okay, now Amy is letting herself be human. She's letting things be hard and she's not taking it out on Amy, which was like such a beautiful thing to see.
Yeah.
And you really did a great job at starting to, become aware of that resistance and dropping the resistance and really letting the thoughts just be. And like, you made an incredible amount of progress. And I'm just so curious, like you say, you're back at work, like how is everything looking for you now? Like not just work, but how do things look? How do you feel in general?
Yeah, I'm definitely having more good days than bad days now. So that's a massive improvement. I'll still have the odd day where I'll have a certain thought and it will kind of stick, and it will play on my mind a bit, and it will make me feel a bit anxious. And I'll start, yeah, second guessing myself, and won't put as much trust into my body that I should. But I feel like I just remind myself, I just think, it will pass. I think that's a really important message that you've said before, that it won't last forever. Like if you do have these times where you're struggling, it won't last forever. Um, and just reassuring myself, just the way that you talk to yourself in your head when you're having these days, that that you think, oh, I at first there was times where I'd think, oh God, this is a setback, and oh,
Mhm.
I'm going back to square one, and then I'd feel worse, and then I'd have to almost catch myself and think, no, 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 this is normal, and you've said, it's not just a constant. You're just going to improve and improve, and that's it. It's up and down, and I think that's important to remember as well, that it's, you're human. Like you're not going to do this absolutely perfectly, and you're not just going to, one day it's just going to click and it's going to be perfect forevermore. And I think I'm just kind of, I can feel that shift as well. Whereas before it'd be like, oh my God, I'm having this anxious thought, and that's it. I'm back to square one. Whereas now, I'll then start to think, okay, it's not great, I don't feel great, but this is an opportunity for me to practice these skills, and to, to how I'm responding to
Yes.
these thoughts. It's an opportunity, and I just think this is another, it's another step to recovery.
Yes.
So
I am so happy sitting over here. Like, yes, freaking yes. Because I think so many times, right? People see that because obviously we all know in here, like the journey is not linear, and nothing is. Where you're going to have ups and downs. You're going to have things in life that cause more stress, more overwhelm, more anxiety. And it's not realistic, right? To just think I'm on this upward journey and things consistently get easier and I never have tough times.
Yeah.
It's really, of course, how you respond to that and how you talk to yourself and how you support yourself through it. But it's just so great to hear you acknowledge, right? This doesn't mean that I've taken a step back. This doesn't mean that I'm not on the path. It actually means I am on the path. It actually means I am healing. And, it's really, since you've taken Panic to Peace, it's been 4 months, right?
Mm-hmm.
To have an expectation that within 4 months, you're going to like really undo all these pathways and
Mm-hmm.
create all the new ones, and that you're going to be on this upward journey and it's going to continue to be easy and all that. It's just so unrealistic because, like you said at the start, right, this has been the majority of my life. Like I
Yeah.
didn't know really how to have a healthy relationship with anxiety. So it's just so good. And I'm so glad that you said that, because it's something that so many people need to hear, that it's not just about the journey not being linear. It's about you really letting yourself recognize you're healing. In the hard stuff is where you heal. Like in those moments where you're noticing and recognizing like how you're responding, and
Mm-hmm.
you're recognizing that you're not being as gentle with yourself as you can. You're recognizing that you're falling into an old unhealthy habit. All of it's good. It's okay. But like, what do we do now? And
Mm-hmm.
that's where you really start making huge shifts.
Yeah, absolutely. Because I remember, like at the start of the course, like I just felt so just crap, and I was just so desperate to feel better. And I remember thinking to myself, I just want to be better now. I just want to be better now. I just want the magic answer, and it's all going to be better. And sadly, it doesn't work like that, and it is a gradual process. And like you said, again, it's the hard way. You're gonna have these bad days, but that is the days where you're gonna make the progress, and that is where you learn how to heal. If it was all just all the good things, you're not learning anything, because you've got to go through those bad moments to really learn how to deal with it. And this is something that obviously I'm going to take for the rest of my life. And I just think it's not great if there is a moment that comes up and I think, oh, I'm struggling a bit today, but I've just got to think, well, it's another day that will go towards my recovery. So yeah, so it's not as terrible now. At first I just thought, oh God, it's back to square one, and it's I'm going to be the one person it's not gonna work for. I'm different, and that's not not the way
Yeah.
to think about it. So
Yeah. And I think
yeah.
that's such a natural, so many of these places that we go to, right, are so natural for us to go to, especially as humans, of like,
Mhm.
I'm just going to be that person that it's not going to work for.
Yeah.
Like I'm beyond saving, all of that. And all of that is just so much fear and self-doubt. And it all makes sense because you really don't have a whole lot of trust in yourself and in your body. And you're working on getting that back, and you are claiming some of that back. And it's just been really nice to see you like have more peace, feel like, okay, I am on the right path. I don't need to fight so hard and grasp at like, am I doing all the things? Am I doing enough? Am I doing it right? Like it's you've sort of gotten really good at letting go of all
Mhm.
that, and okay, what do I need to focus on right now?
Yeah.
How can I support myself in a healthy way right now?
Mhm.
And that's been amazing. So
Yeah.
I think so many people, Amy, are where you were, where just not even being able to see a glimpse of
Mhm.
light, like feeling super hopeless, like experiencing a lot of negative thoughts, a lot of
Mhm.
anxiety, and just feeling like I can't get out of this. Like
Mhm.
maybe there is something really wrong and it's not just
Yeah.
anxiety. Like what, what would you offer to that person listening right now? What's something that you would want them to really hear?
Yeah, just yeah, I was in that place. I thought, there's no hope for me. This is just going to get worse. And it really does. It does get better. It will pass. And your body, you have just got to be kind to yourself. And yeah, the things that I've learned with Panic to Peace, it's all about being kind to yourself, and learning not to resist it and accept it, which it is so much harder. It's so much easier said than done. It's so much harder to put into practice, but you've got to just let time pass, because you do improve. It is about practicing, and the more that you do that, it does get better, and you just learn with your body with your body and your mind how to respond in that healthy way. And it's just like I said, like throughout my life, that I've seen quite a few therapists, and it's always just been, you've just got to manage it, you've got to fight it when these feelings come. And it's just such bad advice to be given, because you're doing the exact thing that you shouldn't be doing. You're just resisting, and it is just, you're fighting against yourself. And even though these thoughts are coming, and I guess they are kind of out of your control, really, because it will just happen, and you'll have this certain thought, and it is just all about how you react to that thought, and learn how to not let it spiral into that so you're in that anxious state. And it is just learning how to it is all about acceptance at the end of the day. But just being kind to yourself, and just knowing that this is it, you are safe. It's a normal, natural feeling that everyone can experience time to time. We're just having it in that exaggerated way, and it's just about learning how to just be a bit kinder to yourself, and just allow it to just be there without fighting it. Which I know, when you are in at that point where everything just seems so difficult, it's you just think, God, I've got to accept this. Like, that's the last thing I want to do. It's just so horrible. It just feels vile. But it really is. You've almost got to do the opposite of how your body feels like it wants to do. But that's.
Yeah. And everyone's sitting on the other side going, I was really hoping that she would say something other than acceptance.
Yeah.
It is not all of it, but it is such an integral piece of recovery and just of life in general, because you think of all your other emotions, right? And we often do fight sadness. We often do fight anger, and we know what happens when we fight those things. I think a big thing that has been helpful to you too is this letting go of the white knuckling. And I'm going to face the hard stuff, and I'm going to allow myself to go there, but I'm going to do it in a kind, supportive way. That is massive, massive. So, Amy, thank you so much for coming on and being vulnerable and sharing your story and your insights. I appreciate it. I know it's going to be so helpful. So thank you. And I am just so incredibly proud of you.
Oh, thank you so much, Shannon. No, it's been an absolute pleasure, and thank you so much for inviting me on. It's been lovely. Thank you, and again, just to everyone out there, if you are struggling at the moment, it does get better. It does get better.
I hope you enjoyed this episode of A Healthy Push. If you want more, head on over to ahealthypush.com for the show notes and lots more tips, tools, and inspiration that will support your recovery. And if you're hoping for me to cover a certain topic, be sure to join my Instagram community at A Healthy Push and let me know in the comments what you want to hear next.